Talk the Talk podcast. Welcome. You know that feeling, right? You know you should do that one important thing, maybe a big project, maybe something for your health, maybe you just calling someone you care about. You plan it, you think about it, maybe you even clear the decks, and then you just don't. You put it off. Again.
It's that familiar, often frustrating pull towards something easier, something more instantly rewarding, even when you know deep down it's not what actually moves the needle or truly matters in the long run. That feeling of intending to act and yet freezing up or getting sidetracked.
Absolutely. It's a universal experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something pretty much everyone deals with at some point, and for many of us, it can be a constant struggle. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are plunging headfirst into that very feeling, procrastination. We're here to help you understand why it happens and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
And we've dug into some really fascinating sources for this deep dive. One from an expert who's literally scanned brains to understand behavior, and another from someone who's done extensive research on why we get distracted and how to gain control. Our mission is to unpack the fundamental roots of why we put things off and uncover practical, actionable ways you can start letting the later stop stealing from the now.
Because, let's be honest, this isn't just about getting more items checked off a to-do list. This is about feeling in control of your time, making progress on what's truly important to you, and honestly, living a life where you feel like you're actually in the driver's seat, not just a spectator watching things happen around you. So if you've ever struggled with getting started, sticking to a plan, or just wondering why you put off things you know you should do, you are definitely in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. To really set the stage and understand the feeling, let's start with a story shared in one of our sources that many of you might find, well, painfully relatable. It's about the author's college days as a government major facing the monumental task of writing a 90-page senior thesis, something you're ideally meant to work on gradually over an entire year.
Right, the slow burn approach.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
His initial plan was sound, totally rational, break it down, chip away at it nice and steady. But as he describes it, the paper came along and the plan didn't exactly happen. The first few months, barely a word.
Oh, boy.
Middle months, still not much. Then it was down to just 2 weeks left.
Okay, starting to feel the pressure now.
And finally, he woke up with only 3 days left until the deadline. And still, virtually nothing. Not a single meaningful word of that 90-page thesis was written.
3 days for 90 pages. What happened? How is that even possible?
What followed was a frantic, sleep-deprived 72-hour writing marathon, fueled by, as he puts it, not one, but 2 all-nighters. He famously joked, perhaps through exhaustion, that the school might call it the best thesis ever seen.
Huh. I can imagine saying that. And the reality, what did they actually say?
The reality, he sheepishly admits, was that it was very, very bad. This extreme example highlights the classic deadline-driven procrastinator in action. But it makes you wonder, what on earth is going on inside the head to let things get to that point?
Right, like what mental characters are battling it out in there? Our source who studies the brain gives us a really vivid analogy for this. He suggests the procrastinator's brain has 2 main inhabitants.
Okay, lay it on me.
First, you have the rational decision maker. This is the part of you that sees the big picture, makes long-term plans, understands consequences, and wants you to do what logically makes sense for your future self. It's the part that says, okay, the thesis is important, let's schedule time for it. You know, the grown-up in the room.
Makes sense. The planner.
And then there's the instant gratification monkey. And this little guy is the problem. He lives purely in the present moment. He has no memory of the past, no knowledge of the future, and he cares about only 2 things: easy and fun.
Ah, the monkey. I think I know this guy. So the conflict is pretty clear then.
Totally. When the rational, sensible choice like working on a difficult thesis isn't immediately easy or fun, the monkey tends to grab the wheel. The rational decision maker says, time for research. And the monkey says, nah, let's go read the entire Wikipedia page about sloths. Or fall down a YouTube spiral that somehow gets from a documentary about Richard Feynman to interviews with Justin Bieber's mom.
Wow, that's specific and oddly familiar. So the monkey just takes over and drives us towards easy and fun.
Exactly. And where does all this monkey-led activity happen?
Where?
In a place our source calls the dark playground.
The dark playground. Okay, tell me more.
This is where you do fun, easy things. The surfing, the scrolling, the binge-watching at times when you know you absolutely should not be doing them. And here's the key. The air in the dark playground isn't actually fun. It's thick with guilt, dread, anxiety, and a heavy dose of self-hatred. It's unearned leisure.
Oof. Yeah, that feeling is the worst. You're relaxing, but you're actually miserable because you know what you should be doing.
Precisely. So the monkey's in charge, pulling us into the dark playground when we know we should be doing something else. How on earth does the procrastinator ever manage to get anything important done, especially things that are hard or unpleasant for the sake of that big picture the rational decision maker sees?
Ah, this is where the procrastinator's guardian angel steps in. Or maybe not quite an angel. Our source calls this creature the panic monster.
The panic monster. Sounds intense.
It is. This monster is usually dormant, minding its own business, but it wakes up instantly, roaring, when a true deadline looms dangerously close, or there's an imminent risk of public embarrassment, career disaster, or some other terrifying consequence.
Okay, so it's triggered by fear of major negative outcomes.
Exactly. And the crucial part, the panic monster is the only thing the instant gratification monkey is absolutely terrified of.
The only thing.
The only thing. When the panic monster wakes up screaming, the monkey bolts, scrambling up the tree, completely out of the way. This finally allows the rational decision maker to take control, and work happens, often in a frantic, last-minute rush, fueled by panic.
Right. That explains the thesis story. The deadline woke the panic monster, the monkey ran away, and the rational part finally got to right, even if it was a mess.
Precisely. This is why deadline-driven procrastination, like the thesis story, sometimes works, albeit painfully and often poorly. The panic monster provides the necessary jolt to override the monkey. Our source even admits he only started writing the TED Talk, where he shared this very analogy when the TED deadline, and seeing his face on the website woke his panic monster.
Huh. It's strangely comforting to know even the experts struggle.
Isn't it? We've all experienced that last-minute surge of energy driven by panic. But while this system, fueled by the panic monster, might get some tasks done eventually, it highlights a much bigger and frankly more insidious problem: non-deadline procrastination.
Oh, this is the one that really gets you. Think about goals like pursuing a self-started creative career, starting that business idea, consistent exercise for long-term health, nurturing important relationships, learning a new skill just for yourself.
Yeah, the important stuff that doesn't have someone else setting a hard stop date. In these areas, there's often no fixed external deadline, no looming presentation, no final exam date, no boss waiting for a report. And crucially, the panic monster rarely shows up.
So the monkey just stays in charge, pretty much all the time.
Pretty much. The consequences of putting these things off aren't contained by a deadline. They extend outward forever, as the source puts it. The long-term effects are missed opportunities, stagnation, a lack of growth, and profound regret.
That's the feeling of being a spectator in your own life.
Yeah.
You have these goals, these values, things you want to do, but the monkey's always in charge. And without the panic monster, you just never start chasing them. It feels like being stuck.
It's a powerful insight into the mechanism of procrastination. Now, let's dive a bit deeper into the why the monkey is so easily distracted, which our second source, near Eel, explores. And he points out something crucial. Distraction isn't typically something that happens to us. It's actually an action we take.
An action. That's interesting. I always thought my phone buzzing was something happening to me, and an external force.
That's the common perception. But Eel looks at the words themselves. Distraction literally means being pulled away from what you planned or intended. Traction means being pulled towards your values and goals. Both words end in action, reminding us that we are active participants in both directions.
Huh. Distraction and traction. Both actions. That's a powerful reframe. So even checking email or doing easy tasks first thing, that can be a distraction,
Okay.
even if it feels productive.
Exactly. He calls these the most pernicious forms of distraction because they feel like work. You're busy, you're doing something, but you're pulled away from what you plan to do, the truly important, often harder task. You're avoiding the main thing.
Okay, so if distraction is an action we take, where does it come from? We blame the external pings and dings, but I heard that's not the main driver. Is that right?
That's where it gets really interesting. Yale's research reveals a surprising statistic. Only about 10% of distraction comes from those external triggers, the notifications, the noise, the interruptions from others.
Wow, only 10%. I would have guessed way higher, like maybe 50% at least. So where's the other 90% coming from?
The vast majority, a staggering 90%, comes from internal triggers.
Internal triggers. Like what's...
These are uncomfortable emotional states: boredom, anxiety, fear, insecurity, restlessness, loneliness, uncertainty, fatigue, even guilt.
So it's not the ping that makes us check the phone. It's the feeling before the ping, like boredom or anxiety, that makes us hope for the ping as an escape.
Precisely, you nailed it. The core insight is that all human behavior is driven by a desire to escape discomfort. Think about it. Time management, weight management, money management. Ale argues they are fundamentally pain management problems.
Pain management, wow. Explain that a bit more.
We often don't do what we know we should because we're trying to escape an uncomfortable feeling in that moment. We reach for the distraction, the scroll, the snack, the easy task, the news feed to get immediate relief from that discomfort. The monkey wants easy and fun, which really means not feeling this discomfort right now.
Okay, that connects everything. The monkey pulling us to easy and fun is really just us trying to escape discomfort. That makes so much sense. So how do we stop being pulled away and start pulling ourselves towards what matters? How do we become what Elul calls indistractable?
It starts with mastering those internal triggers. This is step one in his practical four-step model. It's about becoming intensely aware of the uncomfortable sensations before you automatically reach for a distraction.
Like catching yourself in the act almost.
Even before the act. Noticing that feeling of slight boredom or restlessness that precedes opening social media, the anxiety you feel when you think about starting a difficult report before you dive into checking email instead, the uncertainty that prompts you to browse random websites.
So instead of just reacting, you notice the feeling first. And then what? Just sit with it.
Yes, notice it. And importantly, you reframe these feelings. They aren't problems happening to you that you need to escape. They are signals happening for you. They are messengers telling you something about your current state or task. High performers feel the same discomfort, boredom, frustration, anxiety, but they've learned to use it as rocket fuel for traction, pushing them towards their goals, while distractible people use it as a signal to escape into distraction.
Okay, rocket fuel. I like that. But how do you actually do that? Use discomfort as rocket fuel instead of an escape hatch. Seems hard.
Well, there are specific techniques. One powerful one is the 10-minute rule. If you feel the urge to give in to a distraction, say, you feel that boredom and an urge to check social media, tell yourself you can do it, but not right now, you have to wait 10 minutes.
Just 10 minutes. How does that help? Does the urge just go away?
Sometimes it's not about strict denial, it's about creating a deliberate delay. You build agency by consciously choosing to sit with the urge for a short period. Often after those 10 minutes, the intensity of the urge has lessened significantly or it's passed entirely. You prove to yourself that you are in control of your response to the trigger. It's teaching yourself to delay gratification, basically surfing the urge.
That's interesting, like flexing a muscle. Building tolerance for discomfort.
Exactly. Another technique is scheduling worry time. If uncomfortable thoughts or worries unrelated to your current task pop into your head while you're trying to focus, don't try to solve them or dwell on them right then. Quickly jot them down on a notepad.
Just write them down.
Yep, just capture it quickly. And then schedule a specific later block of time, say 5 p.m. to 5:15 p.m., to actually think about and process those worries.
You're basically telling your brain, not now, later. Like making an appointment with your worries.
Precisely. This compartmentalizes the worry. Your brain knows it doesn't have to figure it out in that moment. There's a dedicated time slot for it. Often, when you get to that scheduled worry time and look at the list, many of the concerns no longer feel as pressing as they did when they first popped up. It's similar to how scheduling video game time for kids removes the all-day nagging and worrying about when they get to play. Gives the brain some peace.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Step one, master those internal discomfort triggers using things like the 10-minute rule or worry time. Got it. What's step two?
Step 2 is making time for traction. This is about proactive planning, not just reacting to triggers. Instead of relying solely on endless to-do lists, which our source argues can make you feel like a loser at the end of the day because they often have no real constraints, he advocates for using a time box calendar.
A time box calendar. What's that exactly? How's it different from just putting things in my calendar?
It's scheduling your inputs, your time, and your attention into your calendar, not just listing desired outputs or appointments. So you're not just listing write report, you're scheduling 9:00 a.m., 10:30 a.m. focused work on report draft. A calendar has constraints. It only has 24 hours. It shows you what's actually possible in a day, forcing you to make realistic choices about how you spend your time, unlike a to-do list, which can just grow forever.
Oh, okay. So it forces realism. And how do you decide what goes on the calendar first? What gets priority?
You start with your values. What kind of person do you want to become? What matters most to you? AL suggests dividing your life into 3 core domains: You, self-care, health, learning, relationships, loved ones, friends, family, and work. Crucially, he argues you should schedule time for you and relationships first.
Schedule you and relationships before work. That feels radical.
Yeah.
Counterintuitive for busy people.
It might seem that way, but it's foundational. If you don't deliberately schedule time for self-care, exercise, learning, or connecting with loved ones, they become residual beneficiaries, getting only the leftover scraps of time, which, as our source's wife pointed out to him, isn't a great feeling for anyone. Scheduling things like date night or exercise isn't unromantic or rigid. It's how you prioritize what truly matters when spontaneity isn't reliable enough to ensure it happens. You're making them non-negotiable.
Okay, that's a powerful point. Protect the important stuff first. So master internal triggers, proactively make time for what matters by scheduling it. What about all the stuff pulling at us from the outside, the actual pings and people?
That's step 3. Hack back external triggers. While they're only 10% of the problem, they still contribute, right? Yes, this includes the obvious stuff like turning off unnecessary notifications. But a major source of external interruption, perhaps surprisingly, comes from other people, colleagues, bosses, even kids.
Right. The quick question that takes half an hour. How do you hack back interruptions from people without being rude or damaging relationships?
Well, one powerful example from the sources is from UK nurses who dramatically reduced prescription errors by 88% simply by wearing bright, visible vests that said, "Drug round in progress, do not disturb."
Wow, 88% just from a vest.
Yep. It created a simple visual boundary, a clear signal. You can apply a similar idea with a physical do not disturb sign for your workspace when you need focused time. It signals your intention politely.
That's smart. Clear signaling. What about dealing with your boss or team? You can't just put on a vest sometimes.
True. For managing your manager or colleagues, you can use your time box calendar as an artifact. If they ask you to take on a new task, show them your calendar, your planned traction, and where it doesn't fit with your existing priorities. Ask them, okay, I can do this new thing, but given my schedule, what should I deprioritize? This turns a potential no into a collaborative, how can we make this work? A process called schedule syncing. You're not just saying no, you're inviting them to help you prioritize based on the reality of your time. It requires psychological safety in the workplace, of course.
I like that. Using the calendar visually to facilitate the conversation. Okay, so master internal triggers, schedule time for traction, hack external triggers. What's the final step in becoming indistractable?
Step 4 is preventing distraction with packs. These are pre-commitment devices, decisions you make in advance to add friction between you and potential distractions. You're essentially making it harder for your future monkey-led self to get pulled off track. You're helping your future self stay aligned with your values.
Like setting up obstacles for the monkey, making the easy thing harder.
Exactly. One type is an effort pact, making the unwanted behavior require more effort. Our source shares a personal example with his wife, plugging their internet router into a simple outlet timer that shuts off the internet at 10 p.m. every night.
Does that actually work? Couldn't they just turn it back on?
Well, yes, technically they could get up and manually reset it, but that little piece of friction getting out of bed, going under the desk, fiddling with it, often makes the impulsive act harder than just staying in bed or getting ready for sleep. It breaks the automatic loop. It's a statement of intent to yourself.
That's so simple, but I can see how it would be effective. It's a physical barrier reinforcing the intention you set earlier.
Right. These packs are like your final line of defense, reinforcing your commitment to being indistractable and spending your time intentionally according to your values and your schedule.
Okay, this is incredibly helpful. So, to kind of recap our journey into understanding and tackling procrastination for anyone wanting to feel more in control, we started by recognizing that frustrating feeling of putting things off, often driven by the instant gratification monkey in our brains who just wants easy fun, leading us into the miserable dark playground where nothing actually feels good.
Right. And we saw how the panic monster sometimes forces action with deadlines, but fails us with those crucial non-deadline goals, leaving us feeling like spectators in our own lives sometimes.
Then we learned from another angle that distraction isn't just external noise hitting us. It's often an action we take to escape internal discomfort, that feeling of boredom, anxiety, uncertainty, that maybe all human behavior is fundamentally pain management.
A big insight. But the good news is you can build agency and intentionality. By applying that 4-step framework we walked through, number 1, mastering those internal triggers by noticing and reframing discomfort, maybe using the 10-minute rule.
2, proactively making time for traction, for what matters most, using a time box calendar based on your values, scheduling you and relationships first.
3, hacking back those external triggers, especially interruptions from other people, using clear signals or schedule syncing.
And 4, preventing distraction with pre-commitment packs, adding friction to make unwanted behaviors harder.
Exactly. Becoming indistractable and overcoming procrastination isn't about being a productivity guru overnight or achieving perfection. It's really a skill set you can learn and practice step by step, day by day.
Yeah, it's not about achieving perfect focus or never feeling the urge to procrastinate again, is it? It's more about recognizing when you get pulled off track.
And understanding why it's happening, acknowledging the monkey or the discomfort you're trying to escape, and then having the tools and strategies to course correct and build better habits, preventing that cycle of regret. It's about resilience.
Our sources suggest something quite provocative, that maybe non-procrastinators don't truly exist. Perhaps everyone is putting off something important in their life, something without a hard deadline.
Yeah, one of the sources talks about creating a life calendar, just a simple grid, where each box represents 1 week in a typical 90-year life. When you look at it that way and cross off the boxes you've already lived, you realize there aren't actually that many boxes left. It's quite sobering.
Wow. Okay, so thinking about that grid, and given how precious and limited those remaining boxes really are, maybe the question for everyone listening is, what is the most important thing you are procrastinating on right now?
That thing without an external deadline, the one that truly matters for your long-term well-being, your goals, your values, your relationships, the thing the monkey keeps steering you away from because there's no panic monster.
And given how few boxes there might be, isn't today, or at least very, very soon, the right time to finally give yourself the gift of starting? Just taking that first small step.